Konnichiwa, and welcome to the Samurai Way, the podcast where we dive into the wisdom of the samurai, the art of Japanese living, and the philosophies that help us live with purpose and perseverance. I'm Lori Sagawa, and whether you're here to explore Bushido, the samurai, uncover the meaning of Ikigai, or just looking for a little extra gambaru, never give up spirit in your daily life, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's walk this path together. Are you ready? Let's begin. And I would like to introduce you to my guest, Dr. Donald Moine. He earned his PhD in psychology and is very well known sales and marketing psychologist. And he served as a consultant to major corporations from A to Z, ranging from AT&T to Zurich Insurance, and he's also helped thousands of salespeople significantly increase their income. Dr. Moine works as a life coach and consultant. He's a well-known public speaker and is the author of numerous books. To learn more about Dr. Moine, look him up on LinkedIn. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you, listening audience, to Dr. Donald Moine. So thank you so much for being here, Dr. Moine.
It's my pleasure, Lori. Folks, I've known Lori for I think about 2 years, and I'm super excited to be here. I've learned so much from Lori reading her newsletter and being connected to her on LinkedIn, reading her newsletter and watching her videos on LinkedIn. We've got a really exciting variety of subjects to delve into today, share some knowledge with you, things that we've learned from the code of Bushido. And as a PhD psychologist, I'm going to add some extra insights that you might not ordinarily receive. And I just thought of something, Lori. You mentioned, I've worked with companies from A to Z, AT&T, ADP, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Merrill Lynch, a whole bunch of others. But I've also worked with a major Japanese corporation called Isuzu, which makes giant trucks in Japan, and they make cars. And I've also worked with Toshiba Medical.
Hmm.
And I wrote the mastermind script book for Toshiba Medical when they came to the United States to sell the first generation of MRI and CT scanner machines. These were
Wow.
$1 million medical imaging machines. It's a lot of money that can see inside your body. They can take like photographs. You guys know what MRI is, CT scan. They can take photographs uh, inside your body without cutting you open. It was a true breakthrough. And I worked with them and wrote the first sales presentation. I wrote a mastermind script book. So I have a special affinity for, we all do for Japan. I've been to Japan. I love it. I love what Lori's doing. So Lori, let's jump right into it.
Okay, well, one of the things you wanted to talk about the Code of Bushido was courage and
Mhm.
what can one do without courage. So I would love to hear your take on that and how it can help others.
That's a great question. What can you do without courage? Almost nothing. You're going to stay curled up in your bed, sucking your thumb. No, you know, none of us are like that. You wouldn't be on the podcast if you were like that. But what is courage? To me, courage is the ability to do something that frightens you. We all get scared in life. That's natural. And I want to make a distinction, folks, between um, unhealthy fears and healthy fears. You may have a fear of driving your car at 120 miles per hour on the freeway. That is a very healthy fear. I want to encourage you to keep that fear. But you may have a fear of public speaking. Lori loves public speaking. She's extremely skilled at it. And if you have a fear of public speaking, it's really going to hold you back because in so many areas of life, you're going to uh, go so much further and succeed and excel if you can stand up in front of a group and share your thoughts eloquently instead of getting tongue-tied. Even just it helps you to be a better parent because you might be at a PTA meeting and they might ask you to stand up and share some thoughts or introduce yourself. And it helps you at church, so Uh, we all have fears, but what we're going to look at here today is fears that are holding you back in three major areas of your life. They can affect every area of your life, but one of them is your finances. Americans have trillions of dollars locked up in bank accounts that pay 0 or nearly 0% interest. That's how banks make trillions of dollars, is they pay us almost nothing to leave our money there. Why do people leave their money in these bank accounts earning next to nothing when the inflation rate is about 3% per year? So that means your money loses 3% of its buying power every year. Over 10 years, your money loses 30% of its buying power. It loses almost one third of its buying power. That's why tens of millions of Americans feel broke. They're two paychecks away from being broke because they leave their money in places like banks where it earns next to nothing. It doesn't grow. Financial advisors and financial planners call this dead money. Your money is dead when it's in these bank accounts. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a few $1,000s in a checking account. I do that, or having a few $1,000s in a savings account. But if you have large amounts of money that could be working for you, if it was in the stock market or real estate, you're really hurting yourself and your family. Um, if you had just had the courage to put your money in the stock market, in a stock market index fund, something like the S&P 500 index fund, in the beginning of 2023, by the end of 2024, in short 2 years, your money went up 50%. For every $10,000 you put in, you made $5,000 for doing nothing except having the courage to put your money in the stock market. For every $100,000 you put in, you made $50,000 just for having that courage. For every $1 million you put in, you made $500,000 for basically doing nothing except having the courage to invest your money in the stock market. Now, I'm not saying everyone should put their money in the stock market. Maybe you're more comfortable with real estate. That's fine. Real estate has gone up tremendously since 2020. Uh, so that's an example of how lack of courage can impact you financially very hard, and it can hurt you and your family. Let's take a look at your personal life. We have a record number of people who are living alone. We also have a record number of people who are lonely, who say they have one friend, no friends, small number of friends. Loneliness is an epidemic in our society. Do you have the courage to reach out to other people, to make friends, to uh, if you are single and you are not happy, by the way, if you're totally happy being single, that's great. I Lori and I are not here to talk you into changing that if you're really happy with it. But I'm a PhD psychologist, folks. I know this about people. People are made to be with people. We are the social animal. We evolved living in groups. Uh, More and more people move to cities every year. Uh, you can be happy living in a very small town, but you know, m- just over time, more and more people have gravitated towards cities. People want to be with people. So, uh, do you have the courage to ask someone to become your friend, or to reach out to them and start the friendship? Or are you just holding back in fear, afraid of being rejected? Uh, are you, if you want to be in a relationship and you're not, do you have the courage to join a dating site? I know there's problems with dating sites. I'm not trying to sell a dating site, but what I'm telling you folks is there's a cure for loneliness, and it takes courage.
Uh-huh.
The third area we'll look at is your business life. Have you started a business? Do you want to start a business? I have started many, many businesses in my life. I know Lori has started a number of businesses. She has a speaking business. She has a tour business of Japan. It's easy to start an LLC. It's easy to start a corporation, or just to file for a business license. You can do that very quickly and inexpensively. What is holding you back? This is I'm helping you I'm trying to help you to identify some of your fears. Because if you walk up to someone on the street and say, "Are you fearful?" People are going to go, oh no, not me, pfft, not the kid, not are you crazy? I'm not fearful. I'm brave. And you look at their life and they're living small. They're living in fear. They're playing a small game. And the first step to solving a problem, folks, is you have to be honest with yourself. You have to identify what the problem is. You have to put your finger on where the fear lies, and then you can deal with it. Lori, do you have anything to add, or would you like to go on to benevolence?
That was really good.
Hmm.
The only
Hmm.
way to face your fears is or to overcome them is to face them,
That's right.
not to avoid them. Yes, we could go on to benevolence.
Okay, great. I love benevolence. I know that Lori loves benevolence. Folks, what is benevolence? It's a big fancy word. Benevolence is basically doing good for others. It can be contributing to charity. It can be doing good deeds in your daily life. And when I talk about charity, I'm talking about a whole lot more than just at the end of the year writing a check out to Red Cross or the American Cancer Society. That's important. We all do that. But I'm talking about giving on a daily basis, we can't necessarily give money to charity every day because we're not super wealthy like some people, but I'm talking about looking for opportunities to give, to lighten the load for other people. Um, there's a lot of stresses and strains in life. You get a lot of bruises in life, and many people are really suffering. And just sincerely reaching out to people and saying, how is it going? How is your day going? And listening, taking the time to listen to them. And if they had a rough day, saying, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I hope tomorrow is a lot better for you. Just doing what you can to brighten their day. You might have been the only person who um, who showed them that level of kindness in a day.
Mhm.
The when I think about benevolence and giving back, some of my real heroes are. Uh, I have so many heroes. Lori's one of my heroes. I mean, people who look for opportunities to give back. But I want to talk for a few minutes about billionaires. I want to talk about billionaires because they have the opportunity to give back in ways that us regular people don't have the opportunity to give back. And you look at people like Warren Buffett and uh, Bill Gates and his ex-wife Melinda Gates. There and Mark Cuban. These are billionaires who have signed something called the Giving Pledge. What that is, it's a written document that's where they sign and say, I am going to give away 99% of my wealth in my lifetime
Mm.
or or shortly after my death. They're not going to hoard it. You think about that. You think about all the good they can do. And there are other billionaires, I'm not going to mention any names, you might know them, some of them have been on the news a lot, who apparently give nothing to charity or almost nothing to charity. They actually take from other people. They want to cut government programs that help other people, that help the poorest, the weakest in our society. There are billionaires like that. And you look at someone like Bill and Melinda Gates, one of the charities they've supported, they've given billions to over, while they're here, still alive, is the eradication of malaria, a deadly disease carried by mosquitoes in tropical areas. They, they have given more money than any government in the world to people. And think about this, folks. They've given more money to eradicate malaria than any government in the world. They have saved millions of lives. These are my heroes. And, I want to encourage all of us to just look for more opportunities to be benevolent. This is one of the codes in the Bushido code, of the 8 codes, benevolence. The samurai knew the wisdom of this, giving back. When you give, frequently us as the givers, we get more back than the person
Mhm.
who gets our gift, right? We do.
Right.
It enriches our life more to see you give a toy to a child, you get more joy. Well, these kids have incredible amounts of joy, if you think back to Christmas and giving your kids toys, but we get a lot of joy from that too. So that's a super, super important one. Laura, do you have anything to add about benevolence?
A friend of mine told me something that just stuck with me. She said one of the favorite quotes of her mother was, "Be kind to everyone." Be
Yeah.
kind. Just two words, be kind. And it can be a small thing. It can be just thinking about, like I was sharing with you earlier, we
Mm-hmm.
have a garden out there and
Mm-hmm.
we have a lot of lettuce. So I went to this local place that serves
Mm-hmm.
other people and I said, "Could you
Mm-hmm.
use some?" She goes, "Oh, yes, is it organic?" I said, "There's no chemicals."
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and took a bag down there and they were happy. And I'm happy it's not going to the slugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
you just think about ways that you can ways that you can give and help other people. Like you
Yeah.
have extra things, clean out your closets.
Mm-hmm. I've been making like 2, sometimes 3 trips a month to Goodwill. I'm at that point in life where I've just accumulated so much stuff. I have so much stuff in storage. I'm giving away furniture. I last year I gave away over 1,000 books.
Ah,
I still have over 1,000, but I have a ways to go. But I give away computers. I just all kinds of clothing, and I have more and more that I want to give away. I feel like I'm richer by having less. I'm at that stage in life. One of the very wise people I met early in my life, I didn't understand it then, but he told me, he said, we spend the first 2/3 of our life accumulating things and money, and we spend the last 1/3 giving it
give
away.
it away.
And I just couldn't relate to that because I was in my 20s then, but I'm living that now. Well, folks, the third code of Bushido I want to take a closer look at is honesty.
Hmm.
Honesty, because we each think we're honest. If you walk up to someone on the street and say, "Are you honest?" The biggest the biggest liar in the world is going to say, I'm 110% honest every day. I've never told a lie." With their fingers crossed. But um, you know, what we're talking about here is not just telling the truth, but not being deceptive and not misleading other people. And as I was thinking about doing this podcast with Lori and I was reading about the Code of Bushido, was thinking about our modern society. I was thinking about all the incredible dishonesty there is in our society. Our politicians lie to us every day. We see lies on television, on social media. There are so many pretenders, that are just pretending to be these social media influencers, these TikTokers and people on Facebook, and they're just ever on LinkedIn. They're everywhere, uh, you know, showing off their houses and their cars, which the house may be rented, the car may be leased, may not even be their car, it's a neighbor's car, God knows what. But so I'm talking about just trying to be honest and authentic as much as we can in every area of our lives. Now we you can't. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, we can't be 100% honest because, like, if someone, maybe you use deodorant or you use cologne or perfume, but if you wanted to really be 110% honest about your the way your body smells, you would never shower or take a bath. So, we have to do a few things to pretty ourselves up. But aside from that, folks, a lot of Bushido is about discipline and try to discipline yourself to be as honest, as truthful as you can. And I want to talk about why is this so important? Why is this so important? And an insight I had in thinking about this is that honesty plays a crucial role in building trust.
Mhm.
And trust is the cornerstone of all healthy relationships, whether it's business, whether it's in your personal life. I do a lot of work with salespeople. I've helped a lot of salespeople make a whole lot of money. And some of my clients who are in sales make over $1 million a year. And, others make several hundred thousand, but you can make a lot of money in sales. And I have a saying that no trust equals no sale. If people don't trust you, I don't care how good your product is, your service, they're just not going to buy. So trust is the cornerstone of all relationships, all healthy relationships, marriage. If your
Mhm.
spouse does not trust you, 50% of all divorces, 50% of all marriages end in divorce, approximately. 50%, think about that. And one of the primary reasons for divorce is lack of honesty. My spouse lied to me. They lied to me about the finances. They were writing checks to people that they didn't tell me about. They had a secret bank account. They cheated on me. They had an affair. Dishonesty. That's the tremendous cost of dishonesty. And being truthful to yourself, folks. That's what I mean. Living an authentic life. That's part of being honest. And the rewards are tremendous. Self-respect, respect from others, building trust, and living a life of integrity. That's
Mhm.
what honesty helps you achieve. And being honest about things like your fears and none of us are perfect. So just being,
Right.
sharing your experience of life. Laura, do you have anything you'd like to add about honesty?
Well, how many people do you do business with
Mhm.
or ask them to come over or do a, you just have to have that trust. Otherwise,
Mhm.
there's no relationship there.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. How many business people do you do business with? The another way I like to think about it, you just triggered this in my mind, Lori, is it's a lot of hard work to keep track of your lies.
Oh,
And
yes.
so I mean, if you're just honest with everyone, you don't have to worry about keeping track of what lie did I tell this person or that person. It's
Oh,
just it's
that's
just
hard.
that's so hard. It's just easy. It's just the same story to everyone. And so it reduces stress tremendously when you're just you. You are authentic. Okay, great. Well, the fourth one we will take a look at that I love from the Code of Bushido is wisdom. Wisdom. Um, wow. Honoring wisdom, seeking wisdom in your life, working hard to develop wisdom. None of us were born with wisdom. We have to work hard to acquire it. It takes years. And a distinction I'd like to share with you folks is that wisdom is more than knowledge. Some people might say, well, he's wise, she's wise, they know a lot of things. It's a whole lot more than knowledge. And you may not understand what I'm saying, so let me dive into that. Um, but knowledge is part of it. And I want to give you a warning here, folks. Uh, if you ever find yourself saying, "Oh, I already know about that. I already know about Bushido," you know, you want to stop yourself in your tracks because
Hmm.
whenever you say, "I know all about it," that is the moment you stop learning.
Learning.
That's the moment you stop learning. Those are the deadliest words you could ever use. I know it all. I know it all about this. I know all about diet and nutrition. I don't need to learn anymore. I know all about exercise. Whatever the subject is, whenever you say, I know everything about it, you stop learning. So, so what is the difference between knowledge and judgment? Because judgment is a big part of wisdom. People don't think about it enough. Knowledge is an accumulation of facts. You take a whole bunch of different facts, isolated facts, you put them together. That helps build knowledge. It's very valuable. But judgment is something more. And, we've all known smart people who have terrible judgment. Very smart people. Maybe it might be an engineer. They can write code, they can do things you can't do, but they have really bad judgment. They drive drunk and they get in an accident, or they just get a ticket and mess up their lives. It could be a lawyer, very smart lawyer, has a lot of knowledge, and they cheat on their wife or their husband, and they mess up their life. They have terrible, terrible judgment. Or it could be, uh, you know, someone with a lot of knowledge, they're highly educated, and they eat junk food all
Mm,
day. They go to fast food restaurants. Obesity is a major problem in the United States. It shortens lifespans, it leads to diabetes, all kinds of health problems, heart problems. So they lack good judgment about eating. So those are some examples of the difference between knowledge and wisdom. People who lack wisdom do foolish things in their lives. They really mess up their lives. They can mess up their business life. They can mess up um, uh, their personal lives. They could gamble. They gamble with their investments.
mhm.
They you know gamble with their businesses by making bad decisions. It's a really important subject to think about, and you want to cultivate wisdom. Folks, you want to look for people who have wisdom. And uh, I want to share something with you from Aristotle, uh, one of the great philosophers of all time, the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle said that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So I want to ask you to look inside yourself. After this podcast, look inside yourself and ask yourself, where am I being self defeating? Where am I being self destructive? What games am I playing with myself? People play games with themselves. Are you playing the game of victim? Are you playing the game of conqueror? Are you trying to conquer other people? What games are you playing with yourself? You have, and where are you strong? Look for your strengths and compliment yourself and build on those strengths.
Mm-hmm.
But all real knowledge starts with self-knowledge. To really understand other human beings, you have to start by understanding yourself.
Yourself.
Yeah. If you did what I did, if you got a PhD in psychology, I got a bachelor's degree in psychology, I earned a master's degree, and then I did two internships and I earned a PhD. One of the things that they required me to do was to go into therapy. And I thought, this is strange. I thought, I'm learning how to be a therapist to other people. I don't need therapy. But they said, you need to know yourself on a much deeper level than you know yourself right now. And it was extremely valuable at different times in my life. Even though I'm a PhD psychologist, I have paid for therapy because there's more that I can learn about myself with the help of another person, with the help of a skilled guide. And so I want to encourage you to look inside yourself, ask yourself, what am I doing that's self-defeating or self-destructive? It's, so valuable to gain that knowledge. It's the basis of wisdom, and then to work to overcome that and to grow out of that. In Japanese society, they respect their elders. They respect
Mm-hmm.
the elders of the community. Why? Because elders have wisdom. Our society here in the United States and here in America is so crazy where we worship youth. There's some nice things about youth. Youth has ambition, youth has energy, youth has optimism. Those are all great things. But,
Ooh,
you
pardon
know,
me.
bless you, when I think about people uh, worshiping 20-something-year-old TikTokers, these people that know nothing, that are, it's like, they're wearing their flashy clothing, they're showing off their cars, they're totally superficial. Here's this new watch I bought, here's this new, they're trying to sell you things, this new skin cream, this new that. Look at these new jeans I'm wearing. It's incredibly selfish and superficial, and it's the inversion of the way things should be. Instead of looking to people who've been on the planet for a number of years and respecting their wisdom and listening to it, it's listening to just some of the most superficial and ignorant, truthfully ignorant people in our society. And when you find these people with wisdom, show them respect, listen to
Mhm.
them, treasure what you can learn from them. And by the way, don't expect them to be perfect, because none of us are perfect. We're all working on ourselves. We should be working on ourselves, growing, becoming better, helping other people. Um, because you may have some things you can share with them, but don't if you wait to find the perfect person, the person with all wisdom, you will never find that person, and uh, you will cheat yourself out of incredible learning opportunities. So when you find a person with wisdom, respect them, learn from them. I've really enjoyed being here today. I hope you've learned something today. I hope you've maybe taken some notes. I hope you take this to heart. Um, Lori, any final questions? Any concluding thoughts?
Well, when you're talking about knowing yourself,
Hmm.
the quote that comes to me is, "To thine own self be true. Be true to
Yes,
yourself."
I love that. I love that. To thine own self be true. Don't cheat yourself, folks. Don't don't cheat yourself. Be true to yourself and recognize that you're growing, because the you of 10 years ago, I hope is not the you of today. I hope you have some of the same values that you had then, but I hope that you have also grown and changed.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's a key part of life, that God gave us the ability to grow and change and to learn. So thy true self is constantly changing, and you need to pay attention to that and put energy into your further growth and evolution.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Moyne. I've gleaned so much more. Every time I listen to you, I glean something.
Uh,
So, thank you, listeners, for tuning into this podcast. And be sure to like and subscribe. There's
mhm,
going to be more. We're just getting started,
mhm.
and we're making great progress. And uh, I have some very interesting guests that we've had, and some more that are coming. So, be sure to stay tuned and share with others, because this wisdom of the samurai can be applied today.
That's true. I'm gonna share this. I have 17,000 connections on LinkedIn. And join me on LinkedIn. That's the only social media site I'm on. Dr. Donald Moine, Moine. I'll be happy to connect with you. And I'm going to promote this podcast with Lori to my 17,000 connections on LinkedIn.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Moyne.
My pleasure. Bye bye, everybody.
And that's a wrap for today's episode, The Samurai Way. I hope you found a little inspiration, a new perspective, or just something to reflect upon as you go about your day. Now remember, the samurai spirit isn't just about history. It's about how you show up, face challenges, and live with purpose. Whether it's Ikigai guiding your path or a little extra Gambaru pushing you forward, keep walking strong. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, or leave a review. It really helps. And if you've got some thoughts, questions, or you just want to connect, just contact me. So until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep living with purpose. Mata ne.